The night was cold, cruel, and wet. Rain poured down like a punishment from the sky, blurring the streetlights into streaks of gold and gray. A young girl, barely 16, ran barefoot through the narrow alleyways, her torn dress clinging to her trembling body, her breath shallow and sharp. Behind her, the echoes of a man's angry voice roared through the darkness, slamming against the rain-soaked walls. She didn't dare look back. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt, her body scraped and bruised from falling once, twice, but she got up every time. She couldn't stop. Not tonight. Not when freedom was only a few steps ahead. Her name was Lena, and she was running from her stepfather, the man who had stolen every bit of peace she ever had. If you believe that kindness and second chances can change lives, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales, because sometimes, a single act of compassion can rewrite someone's entire story. Lena's story began long before that night. She had been a bright, quiet child, the kind who loved drawing sunflowers on old notebooks and singing softly while washing dishes. Her mother had died when she was just 12, leaving her alone in a house filled with echoes and dust. For a year, Lena had lived with her aunt, until her mother's old boyfriend, Rick, came back into the picture. He seemed kind at first, said all the right words, brought groceries, helped around the house. But kindness was just a mask he wore to get what he wanted. Once Lena moved in with him, the mask fell away. The days became shadows of fear. Rick wasn't just cruel, he was unpredictable. One day he'd throw money at her to buy herself clothes, the next he'd shout for hours, accusing her of being ungrateful, lazy, worthless. The bruises she hid under her sleeves weren't always from his hands, sometimes they were from trying to run, from falling while she escaped his anger. And her silence was her armor. She learned that speaking back only made things worse. That night, he had come home drunk, angrier than usual. A broken plate, a scream, and then, she ran. Out the back door, through the rain, with nothing but a small backpack containing her mother's locket and an old photo. She didn't know where to go. She only knew she had to get as far away as possible. After nearly an hour of running, Lena stumbled into a dimly lit street lined with motorcycles. The sign above one building glowed faintly, Riders Haven Bar. Through the window, she saw laughter, the clinking of glasses, and a group of leather-clad bikers sharing food and stories. Her heart pounded with fear and exhaustion. She didn't belong here. But when she heard Rick's voice again in the distance, shouting her name, she panicked and darted inside. The bar smelled of smoke and beer, the sound of heavy rock music filling the air. No one noticed her at first. She slipped between tables, her bare feet silent against the wooden floor, her eyes wide like a cornered animal. Then she saw an empty space beneath a large wooden table surrounded by bikes and boots, and without thinking, she crawled under it. Her body shook as she pulled her knees to her chest, trying to make herself invisible. Minutes passed. The sound of the rain outside mixed with laughter and conversation. But then, a voice, deep and calm, broke through the noise. "What's this?" it said softly. A hand gently lifted the edge of the tablecloth, and a pair of dark, kind eyes met hers. The man was tall, broad-shouldered, with tattoos curling up his arms and a beard that made him look fierce, but his gaze wasn't cruel. It was surprised, almost worried. His name was Cole, leader of the biker group known as the Steel Ravens. To the world, they looked rough, the kind of men you'd cross the street to avoid. But inside that bar, they were a family. And when Cole saw that frightened girl trembling under his table, his instinct wasn't suspicion. It was protection. He saw something in her eyes, something he had once seen in his own reflection many years ago, pain mixed with silent desperation. Cole didn't ask questions right away. He simply crouched down and handed her his jacket. "You're safe here," he said quietly. Lena wanted to speak but couldn't. Her voice was lost between fear and disbelief. The jacket smelled faintly of leather and smoke, but to her, it was the warmest thing she had felt in years. She clutched it tightly, tears falling silently down her cheeks. Cole stood up and turned to his group. No one says a word. She's staying here for a bit. And just like that, the laughter stopped, and the men nodded with silent understanding. They didn't need an explanation. They trusted Cole, and Cole trusted his gut. For the first time in years, Lena slept without fear. The next morning, when sunlight crept through the dusty blinds, she woke to the sound of sizzling bacon and the hum of motorcycles being repaired outside. One of the bikers, Sam, placed a plate in front of her and smiled. "Eat up, kid. You look like you haven't seen a real meal in weeks." She whispered a thank you, still unsure if this was real. Days passed, and the girl who once hid in fear began to speak, softly, cautiously. She told Cole bits of her story, her mother's death, her stepfather's cruelty, her dreams of escaping and studying art. Cole listened, saying little, but every word she spoke etched deeper into his heart. He saw in her the daughter he never had, the family he thought he didn't deserve. But the peace didn't last forever. One afternoon, Rick showed up at the bar. He had tracked her down. His voice thundered across the parking lot, demanding that she come home. Cole and his men stepped outside like a wall of iron and leather. Rick's rage turned to arrogance. He shouted threats, claimed Lena was his responsibility. But when Lena stepped out from behind Cole, clutching her mother's locket, she spoke with trembling courage. "No," she said. "You lost that right the day you hurt me." The silence that followed was heavier than stone. Cole's men stood firm, and Rick, realizing he was outnumbered and outmatched, spat on the ground and stormed off into the distance, his power broken. That day, Lena didn't just escape her stepfather, she claimed her voice. In the weeks that followed, Cole helped her contact social services, find a safe home, and even enroll in a local art program. The bikers chipped in quietly, donating supplies, clothes, and books. They never treated her like a burden, she was family now. And every weekend, she returned to Riders Haven, sketching the men and their roaring bikes in charcoal, laughing as they teased each other like brothers. Months later, her first art exhibit opened in a small community hall. The theme? Second chances. Each painting told a story, of pain, survival, and kindness. And in the center of it all, one piece stood out, a girl curled under a table, wrapped in a leather jacket, light shining through the darkness. Beneath it, a small plaque read, "To the man who saw a lost girl and gave her back her wings." If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales, because you never know whose life your kindness might change next. Before we end, here's a special request. Speech balloon comment below what kindness means to you, because every act of compassion tells its own story.